Hey, welcome back to the Confidad podcast. It's me, Dan, your host. So glad to have you back with us today. Let's start out with our mindset, remind ourselves what is true. Here we go. I'm the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new. So is tomorrow. I am wholly loved, so I will love wholly. Today in our equipping section, I want to talk about something that I've been teaching for a while, but some new things came to light in how to create a more specific and understandable goal for you, a better framework for understanding these words that we use. Words matter, right? And there's wisdom in specificity, all right? There's wisdom in speaking rightly in the right circumstance. Let me explain. Have you ever seen those mugs that say like world's best dad, right? Or thought in your head, I just want to be the best dad I can. I just want to be the best dad I can. That's so generic. Not to mention, it goes against what we talked about with comparison. Like world's best dad automatically implies that everyone else is the world's worst dad. And so now you're just standing on this pinnacle that's super shaky and your identity is not rooted in anything solid. Now, you might say I'm picking apart things and the mugs and the gifts are just like a way of saying I love you. But think about this. What if you had a mug that said this? I am the dad my kids need. That's specific. There's wisdom there. If all we want to say is, I just want to become the best dad I can, that does speak to the potential you have within you to become better, to grow, right? And hopefully you are willing to grow in that if you're saying that you want to become the world's best dad. But think about this. Think about how if we're moving from point A to point B, we're going to need some mile markers on the road, right? We're going to need some goals, some ways of measuring the growth, measuring the things that we used to struggle with that we don't anymore, celebrating them along the way. Think about this. I want to become the dad my kids need. It admits that you're not there yet. You haven't arrived and you have growth, right? It shows you that you understand just being generic best dad isn't the same thing as the dad that your specific kids need. There's no one else in this entire world who has your kids. And you're the only one situated in whatever fatherhood role that you have, bio dad, stepdad, foster dad, adoptive, whatever it is, you get to embody that role and no one else does. And what that means is it's going to require a little bit of work on the sense of what do my kids need? Like understanding them and knowing them well enough to understand their strengths, understand their weaknesses, and then in that mix of interdependence, what are the needs of each of my children? So as we think about this, moving forward through like moving from point A to point B and on our way on the winding, twisting, up and down, light and dark path to the summit of the 75-year-old vision that I had you write yesterday. How do we get there? Well, it's like one step at a time, like everything else, one step at a time. And you need goals. Have you ever thought about using the framework SMART goals for your parenting? We do it for business all the time. I want to make sure it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Okay, the 12-week year or the quarterly planner or whatever framework you want to use, it's really helpful to use SMART goals in that. Yes, absolutely. What about SMART goals for your family? What about SMART goals for yourself as a dad so that you're showing up as the dad that your kids need, that you maybe aren't there now, but you're becoming that dad your kids need day by day. So let's think about this. And actually, we do this in our course. We move through specific goals. I have my clients build them out for each kid. If you want to do it in a very like hands-on approach, would love to have you in the course. But just to give you a bird's eye view of how this looks, you understand becoming the dad your kids need is specific to each kid. Now, I'm not saying you treat them all differently. I'm not saying like it's about, but we say it's about equity. It's not about fairness. Every kid gets what they need. Some get disciplined in different ways than others. Well, that's not fair. Well, actually, if discipline is about shaping them into interdependent, confident adults, I'd rather do discipline that's different for each kid and quote unquote unfair if that's going to empower that child to become an adult, an interdependent, confident adult ready for launching, right? So it's individualized to each child. And let's run through the SMART framework. Specific. Do you know your kids well enough to know specifically what each of them need? Okay. I hope you have some things that come to mind, but if you have nothing, my time well spent framework of seeing, hearing, and knowing will really help you to start honing in on knowing them better so that you know how to respond, how to set them up for opportunities, what expectations to have of them. It's a really helpful framework in moving you into specific goals. All right. Maybe you have a kid that like crumbles under intense energy. I'm not saying just yelling or whatever, but like you broke the rules and now you have to do this and you're super intense in your discipline and the kid just crumbles. That kid is going to have different needs in discipline than a kid who is extremely defiant and like, hey, yeah, okay, try it. Let's see you, big man, right? The ones that are confrontational. The specificity of our goals here of understanding like, okay, I need to have specific goals for each of my kids if I want to become the dad my kids need. These goals need to be measurable, okay? I actually built within a habit tracking app, I built a system and a framework for measuring these connection points, measuring the goals that you have. Say you have a goal of like reading to one kid 3-4 times a week. Okay, it's in the app. You download it, you set it up, and you're checking it off. And you're actually measuring the time you're spending, the instances you're spending, what you're doing with your kids, and how it's going. Okay, cool. It's measurable, right? We think that like all these, relationship things it's intangible and it's hard to really put our fingers on it. Well, yeah, until you start really thinking about like what goes into relationship. It's time spent, it's words spoken, it's activities done together, it's love languages, it's all of those things. And those are actually activities that can take place in the normal rhythm of a life, the normal rhythm of a household. You're able to do it. You're able to measure that, okay? Attainable. Are these goals attainable? Is it even attainable to become the dad that your kids need? It is if you understand that you need help, that you need a community around you to tell you when you're screwing up. When you feel like, I'm good. Yeah, I don't think I need anything. I think I'm good. You have blind spots, and they're called blind spots for a reason because you don't know about them, right? Do you have someone that loves you enough, that cares about you and your kids enough to look at you, that isn't your spouse, your wife, your partner, whoever, who you're going to hear from and go, yeah, maybe I should work on that. Maybe when I'm coaching my kid, I shouldn't yell from the bench or from the sideline. Maybe I shouldn't overreact when they make a mistake. Are you open to that feedback? So many guys would take a bullet for their kid, but they can't swallow their pride. Is that you? Would you rather be the hero who dies for your kid taking a bullet, or the quiet, empowered father who chooses not to die for their kid, but to live for them because you have swallowed your pride and you said, in order to become the dad my kids need, I'm probably going to need some brothers in arms to tell me when I'm screwing up, to show me my blind spots, and to walk with me on this journey to the summit. Would you rather take a bullet or swallow your pride? If the answer is I'd rather take a bullet, you're probably more willing to not be there for your kids through a heroic death that makes you look good than the quiet servanthood of a father who swallows his pride and shows up in the little moments over and over, consistently, reliably, predictably for your kids, and no one will ever know. You won't be in the newspaper for swallowing your pride. You may be for taking a bullet, but you will not be for swallowing your pride. But in whose eyes will you be the number one? Your kids. So the goal is attainable only if you're willing to swallow your pride and join a community. Ask for help. We'd love to have you. Realistic. Are the goals realistic? You are not going to move from having zero patience with your kids to 100% patient, never losing your patience ever again. It won't happen overnight. It's a 1% change. So make sure when we're making these goals, they are realistic in the sense that like, oh, if I do a 1% change over a quarter, can I reach that? Maybe even it's a 1% change over a week and it's 13% better because you spent 1% each week in a quarter. Last one, timely. If you don't have teenagers yet, you don't need to set goals about being a dad of teenagers, right? They need to be timely, helpful. They need to be something that's going to meet the needs of your kids at the ages that they are now. And I was just talking to one of my clients today about the tools that we use in helping emotional regulation, connection with your kids, in helping them listen well to us and living, having behavioral response from wisdom and understanding. These tools are helpful, but they will wear out. Like they don't work forever. And so understanding the timeliness of your goals and the things that the way that these goals work, if they're all the way crossing all the boxes of SMART, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, you may work on this thing, really nail it down over the next 6 to 8 months. And in 6 to 8 months, guess what? Your kid's a different person. So you get to know them all over again. It's like this never-ending journey, your own adventure almost story of getting to know your kids as they grow and as they change. Maybe in March, they discover a love for piano. And they're just this kid that's always been about sports, but then they sit down at a piano and something clicks and they go, wow, I never knew I could take what's up here and move it through my fingers and make it sound like that out here. Our kids are always changing and growing. And are we like malleable enough? Are we flexible enough to continue becoming the dad our kids need? That's my goal for you. I hope that you are able to swallow your pride, not just say, I'd take a bullet for my kids, but to quietly say, yeah, I'd swallow my pride for my kids. I'd swallow my pride to accept the reality that I need help in becoming the dad my kids need. Whether it's with us at Confidad here or somewhere else, get the help you need. And I'm not saying it has to be professional help. It's just a community, a village, a place to belong and move forward together so that you can become the dad your kids need. And then you can proudly walk around your house knowing that as each kid comes in and out of your presence and you're enjoying their time together, you get to quietly say in your heart, I'm grateful. I'm empowered. I'm becoming the dad that my kids need. What a gift to have that confidence. What a gift to have that assurance. So may you go being challenged to not just want to be the best dad in the world, but challenged, empowered, given permission to go after becoming the dad that your kids need. We'll see you in the next episode.